I'm gonna talk about, really, I would say, 5 problems and 5 reasons why you should or should not get an Eclipse. I mean, like, I've had mine for a year, but before that, I've had 2 more before that. My first one was an all-black 1997 GS Eclipse. It had power windows, power everything, sunroof, the whole nines, exhaust, G-ready headers, short shifter, a good steering wheel, and so on and so forth. Car got crashed, so I got the insurance money from it and bought a new one. And this one was a gunmetal gray kind of car. It was a gunmetal gray, so like the gunmetal gray that comes with the car stock that you get from the factory. So I had that color. What happened was with that car, my first day out of high school, I would say, but like it's like when I was leaving high school. And there's this little turn, so I'm making the turn. I get out. I'm heading down the street before I head home. It's like this one street that I just take all the way down. And this kid slams on his brakes, not paying attention to the car in front of him. And somebody behind him slams on his brakes and barely taps his bumper and slammed brake lights. So I pull my e-brake, throw my car, hit my clutch, hit the brakes. My little brother's in the passenger seat, and I have another crash. So that day I was kind of like irritated. I was like, fuck, there goes another car. It's another really nice car. That didn't stop me. I was a determined kid, so I asked my mom how much money I had left in my account that they had from my savings account before they gave it to me when I turned 18 years old. And what happened was that same day somebody posted a picture of basically this car, and it came with a blown engine. The car was sitting there at a tow yard for a good 2 years, he said, or a year and a half, and it sat there for a really long time. And while it sat there, rust happened, the rear hatch broke, so he replaced it and used silicone around the edge to kind of seal it up. And I basically just swapped engines from my old car that was broken and shitty, that had the whole front end smashed. So engine was good, the internals were fine. It was just the front end was completely blown, the airbag deployed, and so on and so forth. So swapped the engines with my dad, one of my good friends, and my little brother, ironically too. We all kind of like came together. I got the car, got it towed to my house for free, and put the car up on the driveway. And then when I got the car done, I drove it my first day of school, finding out the little kinks in it, the weird turns. But let's get to the main points about like why you should or should not get a DSM. The number one thing that irritates people about DSMs is that all of them are usually broken, on jack stands, blown engines, with a whole bunch of bullshit wrong with them. Or you get lucky and you get one with a good engine, but a horrible body with rust under the frame. I don't know, fucking panels that are painted weird colors. Like when I first got this car, the interior panels were red and blue. That's why I don't have well, that's my fault. But this whole section is usually covered off, and there's a little piece of black plastic. But in this car, it was red. So I had to remove those. The quarter panels had some red debris on it from the guy just really looking like he just grabbed a rattle can or a spray can and just sprayed it outside and then put it back in the car and let it dry, because the whole car smelled like paint still, even when I got it, and it was sitting there for 2 years just cooking in its own guts. So eventually I got this car, but that's one of the main problems with DSMs, is that half of them are broken on jack stands. Second reason I would have to say would be that they always have problems. The computer usually malfunctions, or something's up, because I've redone this whole engine. It's completely like sound and solid, and no matter how much I've driven it and like how much I've like actually tinkered with it and try to make it as good as it is, no matter how much I've actually put into it, it's just harder and harder for me to keep up with it, because like certain things are breaking, because it is an 18-year-old car. It's as old as me. I was born in 97. This car is 97, so it's kind of my age. And the car is breaking down so much to the point where sometimes, like, parts I think are broken, I replace them, and it reveals a new problem. Like, I broke my CV axle. My CV axle broke, so I lifted up the car and I took out the CV axle and I put in a brand new one. But when I did that, I also saw my ball joints were broken, lower control arm was completely fucked. And so I basically just bought the whole bottom end of this car is brand new. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's one of the problems, is that if it's your daily, it's a good daily if you buy them stock. If you bought them from a dealership or somebody that babied it its whole life, then it's an amazing car. But because I bought it from a junkyard and people have modified it, there's so many problems with it that you always have to keep up with it. So that's the second problem, is that something is always breaking. Problem number 3, I would have to say, would be just finding parts in general. There's not a lot of websites that have parts for this car. Like, yeah, they have the tuner spec, the sex spec type things, like the early 90s, like Fast and Furious 1. But I don't want my car to look like Fast and Furious 1. I want to have it that classic look, that maybe more VIP, but not as early 90s retro. Like, I want it to look nice, but not ratty nice. So I really have to fabricate a lot of my stuff. Like, if I want to get a bumper, I can get only a certain bumper that fits my style. And the bumper I picked was a B2 bomber kit for from Duraflex, but I never got around the time to buying it and everything, so I kind of just let it happen. And then also, you guys maybe saw in my first video, or my second one, I believe. Yeah, my second one. I went to a plastic shop because I was actually planning to build a diffuser for this car. And so that's for the rear, but I know my car's not all-wheel drive, but I would still look nice. I still want it to look nice. But that's the problem with it, is that there's not really a lot of websites. There's only really 3 websites, and that is Car ID, and that's if they have the parts, everythingeclipse.com, and that's pretty much it. And then everything else you just gotta kind of find. It's really hard to find these parts because not a lot of stores carry them. Like, I remember I went into AutoZone a whole bunch of times and like, hey, do you guys have, not like even just simple stuff like, do you guys have an oil cap for my 1997 Eclipse? And they're like, oh wait, we're gonna have to order it, it's gonna take 2 days. Or I was like, hey, do you guys know where can I get a new oil oil checker, like the little thing that goes into your engine to check your engine oil, the dipstick, engine oil dipstick. And even that has a bad reading because it's so old, there's so much shit all over it that I can't even read it. So I asked AutoZone, I was like, hey, do you guys have this? O'Reilly, everywhere. And they're like, no, I'm sorry, we don't. We're gonna have to order it, or the nearest one is all the way out in Auburn or something like that. So I have to drive hella far to find these parts. And yeah, there are some people that still do it, like everything Eclipse, but even then their like body kits are really 90s, really like 90s set car spec, or like it's very, I hate using this term because it's really easily thrown around, but like ricer, it's a ricer look, and I don't want to go for a ricer look. I'm gonna go for more of a VIP look. But that's the problem with these cars, is that there's not a lot of parts places, there's not a lot of this, there's not a lot of that, so you gotta search around, you gotta hunt for these things, and it's just a horrible thing in a way. But if you love these cars, you love these cars, and that's why I got this car. And then I would say the 5th problem would have to be that people, when they see these cars, they immediately think, oh, it's a 90s spec car, it's ass, it's horrible. And the reputation that comes with it is more of like, these cars don't go fast, they're horrible cars. But I've seen all-wheel drive Eclipses dust, I mean like just dust Dodges, dust muscle cars, and just kick ass. You can still, like, these cars can do good if you apply them the right way, and a lot of people just break them. And that's the worst part about it, is that the 5th reason is that these cars are beat to shit. Like, they're pushed to their limits so easily, but it's a good car, is what I'm saying. And then reasons why you should get this car, I would have to say, would be the ideal that comes with it. Like, yeah, it's a car from Fast and the Furious, but it's a car that means a lot in the community. Like a 1997 Eclipse, when I roll up to car meets, a lot of people are like, oh shit, or like, damn, like people that understand, that have been around in the car meet, usually not just VIP kids, but like older people that know cars. They're like, you still have this car running? And I'm like, yeah, it's still running, it's still driving, it has a nice exhaust, it has a nice, somewhat good outside body. I've redone all the body panels inside, all the interior panels, so everything's kind of good. the dude that has an MR2. I forget your name, but if you see this video, comment below. But yeah, when I told him I was like, yeah, I have the 2G Eclipse, he was like, no way, you really have this car still running? That's what I'm gonna say. He's like, wow, you still have this car running, you're still driving? And I was like, yeah, it's running fine, I'm still pushing it. It's still a really nice car, it's just that I had to put so much work in it to keep it alive that it's still a good passion for me. Second reason why you should get this car, I would say it's a very good car to learn on. Like, I learned a lot about Japanese vehicles, or basically just Chrysler engines, because this is a branch between two different companies. You understand what I'm saying. Chrysler and another company merged together to make DSM, or Eclipses, Mitsubishis. And DSM is just, yeah. Anyways, these engines have really easy like parts that you can fix. Like, you can change the exhaust fairly easy. I can change my exhaust within let's say like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I can pull off all the bolts and I can remove the headers without even really trying that hard. I can remove the whole exhaust system, like the whole header system for the exhaust, and then like cold air intake, that's easy to pull off. You can change the radiator fairly easy. You can do maintenance is really easy on this car. Like, you can learn a lot from it. Another thing too is that if you really want to tinker with the car, you can with this one, but not as much. I wouldn't suggest it because they are very like prone to breaking, as stated before. But it's just kind of how this stuff is. Reason number 3 why you should get this car, I would say if you really want, like, if you really care about vehicles and you're really a car person, it's a car that a lot of people look down upon. But if you can make it look nice, in which I feel bad now that I'm like making this video, you know, but if you make it look nice and you make it perfect in your eyes, other people will recognize it as like, oh, that's a really nice Eclipse, or that's a unique car. And I have been stopped and people have like asked me, be like, oh, what have you done with the car? What have you done this? And I was like, oh yeah, I've done an exhaust, I've done a cold air intake from AEM, I've gotten headers for it, I've gotten a, well, the car came with already a muffler and everything else already done, but I just put on the headers so that I can get that power, I would say, or that that style look to it. But it's still a good setup for the car. And number 5, I don't know if I'm a 4 or 5. I think that was 4. I would say 5. 5th reason why I got this car, or just why you should get this car if you want this car, is that if you like this body style, then go for it. I mean, like, it's your dream. If you wanted to make it look nice, then do it. But those are 10 reasons, I would say. 5 reasons why you shouldn't, and 5 reasons why you should get this car. But it's all subjective. I mean, some people get these cars and they just rice them out just for shits and giggles, or they just blow them to hell, or they're just sitting there dying. So, I mean, if you really want this car, get this car, but it's up to you. For me, I really like these cars. I really like this car. But there always comes change, and I may not have this car forever. But I would love to buy another one, and if you're interested, you know, you want to buy this car, just tell me. You know, I might, if the price is right, I'll sell it. But check other videos out, check other things. I just kind of wanted to make this video because I am thinking about selling it. I'm not sure, but maybe in the future, maybe in a couple months, thinking about selling this car and getting a better car, just something that's more reliable. But it's still gonna be a stick. That's one thing I can never let go, is not driving a stick shift car. I like stick. It's just how it is. But if you guys check out the videos, like I said, check any other videos out, like, subscribe, comment, leave any of your comments. And if anybody from the DSM tuner community have anything to say, just write it in the comments. I'd like to hear what you guys think about these cars too, because I'm still young. I mean, like, I've always liked this car, but you guys may know more about it than me. So just tell me. California. This is Southern California.